If you want to improve in an area of your life or just get somewhere in life, there is one thing that you need to master. And that one thing is being able to be vulnerable with yourself and honest with yourself. Your lack of vulnerability towards yourself is the reason why you're not seeing yourself excel in life or you're not getting the results that you're hoping for. Your lack of vulnerability is putting you in a very fixed and stagnant mindset. And that fixed and stagnant mindset is holding you back in life. And if you feel like you cannot be vulnerable with yourself and you are stuck in life and you're just not improving yourself overall, this is the video for you. Now let's be for real. It might be embarrassing for you to cry in front of yourself. It might be embarrassing for you to feel emotions towards something. It might be embarrassing for you to try something new and the way that you're gonna feel after trying something new. You might even be holding on to past experiences and you might be holding on to so much resentment, and now all these feelings are just anger. You might be holding on to childhood trauma and just pushing it all down. And you're not even realizing that because you're pushing down all your childhood trauma and you're not facing it, your outer world is reflecting your inner world, but you're just not allowing yourself to be vulnerable with yourself to face those things and for you to get out of that trap and for you to see the world in a different way. Maybe your relationship life sucks and you keep attracting the same type of people. Well, have you been vulnerable with yourself? And instead of blaming others, have you tried to work on whatever you need to work on? Have you tried being vulnerable with yourself and saying yeah, I need to have standards. Yeah, I need to have boundaries. Maybe your coworkers at work are taking advantage of you. Well, have you been vulnerable with yourself to admit that, yeah, you are a people pleaser? These are all examples of how people avoid being vulnerable with themselves and facing the truth of who they actually are. And when you avoid being vulnerable and honest with yourself, you're pulling away from who you truly are. And when you can't be vulnerable with yourself, you start to fear experiencing your true self. And when it comes to your true self, I'm talking about the deepest parts of you, the things that make you tick, your insecurities, the things that you don't like about yourself. All this thinking that you have about yourself is because you can't be vulnerable with yourself and you just don't want to face it. And a lot of times it's so hard for us to let go of this part of ourselves is because we're afraid of experiencing the actual true version of ourselves, who we are when we actually conquer our fears. Who are we when we actually conquer our insecurities? Because when you are surrounded by these things for a long, long period of your time and you start identifying with these things, it is your identity and you don't know who you are without those things. And it is scary pulling away and actually facing your insecurities and actually facing your childhood trauma and actually facing the deepest parts of yourself. But when you do face all those things, it is so worth it in the end. Yeah, it's gonna suck in the process because you're letting things out and you're reliving things, but in the end, you become the version of yourself that you could only imagine, that you wish that you were. And your ego starts becoming less of a bad thing. Your ego doesn't become something that protects you. Your ego doesn't become something that hurts others to benefit yourself. And your ego doesn't make you put on a front and have you pretending like you're someone that you're not. Now, in order for us to become comfortable with ourselves and become vulnerable with ourselves and honest and actually face who we truly are and to let go of this version of ourselves that's holding us back, we need to work on self-acceptance and self-awareness. And that involves you recognizing your emotions, accepting your insecurities, accepting the worst parts of you, accepting the things that have happened to you in the past, accepting everything and accepting you as who you are right now. And when you start accepting who you are right now, you are not afraid to face it. Instead, you're like, you know what? I accept that I'm an insecure person, but I know there's more out there and I know I can overcome my insecurities. So how can I level up? Or if something happened in your past, like, you know what? I need to accept that this has happened to me and I can't change it. So how can I improve from this and not let it identify with me? If you are stuck in this, I don't want to accept anything for what it is and I'm going to hold on to resentment and I'm so pissed off and I'm going to be pissed off for the next 10, 20 years, bro, you are going to be pissed off for the next 10, 20 years, and you're going to still be that same person who you were 10, 20 years ago. So what are you going to do? Are you going to not accept the things that have happened in your life and just be angry all the time? Or are you going to accept and move on and grow from them? Because you get to choose the direction that you want to take yourself into. If you don't want to accept things, okay, bye. Don't accept it. And in order for you to accept the things that have happened in your life, you need to have self-awareness. So you need to start asking yourself, Why am I feeling this way? What is something in my past that I'm still holding on to? Why do I act a certain way when this pattern always occurs? When people do this to me, how come I always shut down? Blah, 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 blah. You have to ask yourself these questions in order for you to build a better sense of self-awareness and in order for you to better understand yourself and accept the things that have happened to you and to evolve from those things. There have been so many situations in my life where, yeah, it took me a long time to accept them. But looking back, I'm glad that I put in the work to accept the things that have happened to me and not suppress them. There's a difference. Accepting doesn't mean you forget. Accepting means you look at the situation and you're kind of thankful for it. Like, you're like, you know what? If it wasn't for this situation, no matter how bad it was, I wouldn't have learned the lessons that I've learned from that situation. But when you're suppressing things, you're not willing to learn the lesson. You are not willing to set boundaries for yourself for certain situations. You're not willing to become a better you, a stronger you. You're not willing to put up standards. You're just like, you know what? I don't care. I'm suppressing it. Yeah. All right. What's going to happen when it comes back up? And you want to know the worst thing too? The more you suppress things, the more it keeps repeating in your life. And that's the part of building vulnerability with yourself, is being able to see yourself at your worst moments. And it's like the same thing that kind of applies in like a relationship. How are you going to expect your partner to accept you for your worst if you can't even accept the worst part of you? And the thing is too, when you work on the worst parts of yourself, you learn to accept those things and love those parts of you. So when that instance does happen, when a bad version of yourself is reflected onto any type of relationship, you know how to work through it instead of identifying it. You're like, yeah, I recognize that this is a bad pattern of mine. I don't want to keep hurting you, so I'm going to continue to work on it. And that's just you being mature and you understanding that you're not perfect and you being vulnerable and honest with yourself. Like, yeah, I'm not perfect. I have a toxic trait. I'm going to work on it because I don't want it to affect us. Boom. But there are so many people in this world who will just stick with their ego. No, nothing's wrong with me. I'm perfect. This is how I am. Life made me like this. All right, bye. Do not talk to me. I don't care what life made you as, because I went through some things too, and life has made me even a better person. So I don't know what you're talking about. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Being able to be vulnerable with yourself and acknowledge things is going to benefit you in the long run. Now listen too, I'm not saying to go and show everyone your emotions, but what I am saying is that if you can't even look yourself in the face when you're crying and accept it instead of getting cringed out or instead of making fun of yourself, you have a lot of vulnerability work that you need to work on. I used to be like this. I used to get icked out if I felt any type of way, if I was crying, like any sense of emotions, I did not want to feel them. And I would just get so embarrassed and icked out. But the thing is, I kept reliving the same thing over and over again because I wasn't being able to look myself in the eye and see myself crying and tell myself it's okay. I was not able to do that. Now I am able to do that, and I always see my life progressing because I give myself the allowance of being vulnerable. You need to give yourself the allowance of becoming vulnerable. And if you don't, you can't expect others to be your comfort person or to be that person that you could only be vulnerable to, because if that person leaves, boom, you're back to just you versus you. And if you can't even be vulnerable with yourself, that clearly shows that you're codependent on the other person to be vulnerable. Now, going back to the whole crying thing, the most important thing when it comes to being vulnerable is the second thing, which is embracing and healing and releasing your emotions. I don't want to have the same pattern as I did when I was 5 years old. I don't want to have the same pattern that I had when I was a teenager reflecting on my adult life. I don't, and I don't want to deal with it, which is why you need to keep releasing things and overcoming it and accepting things. You don't want to live the same life that you are living right now. Boom. Straight and simple. I love my life right now. But in 5 years, this better not be my life. Okay? Same mindset that you guys need to have too. And then when it comes to healing and releasing your emotions, I want you to think of this example. So think of it as a breakup. You have two options. You can either heal and glow up or suppress and go down. You pick. It's the same thing with anything in life, but I'm just going to talk about a breakup. Personally, I'm a heal and I'm a glow up. Mentally, physically, spiritually, my aura after healing is gonna be a billion gajillion times plus aura. Like, that is the goal. And that is the truth. The hardest things that you need to overcome become the best things that have ever happened to you. So if you're going through a breakup, keep healing, keep processing it, go through the 5 stages of griefs, Hey, maybe you got more than 5 stages of grief. I don't know, but go through every single emotion. Give yourself grace. Be vulnerable with yourself, and you will come out of that as if that breakup never happened. Trust. You will be okay. Or you can be person number 2. Man, that breakup really hurt me. You know what? I'm gonna just go get the next girl. I'm gonna just go get the next guy. You're gonna get the next girl and the next guy, and you're gonna be still thinking about your ex. What the heck? That sounds ridiculous. That actually sounds so ridiculous, and I find it so embarrassing. And I'm gonna say this for real, okay? Maybe you might not agree with me, but if you're constantly suppressing your emotions, you are weak. You don't know how to face yourself, and you don't know how to face situations that are thrown at you in life, and you decide to run away and think that it's the easy route. But the thing is, the difference between you and the person who actually takes the time to heal is that the person who took the time to heal no longer is going to think about those situations anymore. You, on the other hand, have not learned how to release things, and you're going to be thinking about the same person for 10 years. And think about this too. You don't want to be in your next relationship, married, having kids, and you still think about the ex that you had in high school. And the reason why you're thinking about them is because you didn't heal properly. And this applies in every situation. You don't want to go into the next job that you apply to and you're still mad about your boss and you're holding resentment towards your boss, and all that anger now that you have towards your boss is reflecting on your new boss. Even though your new boss is an amazing person and they respect you and they give you the best salary, they let you do whatever you want. But because you hold on so much resentment towards your old boss, you reflect that on your new boss. Hey, someone might be thinking like that right now who's watching the video, and I just called you out. That is the truth. And lastly, for us to become more vulnerable and honest with ourselves, we need to break our ego. Our ego has so much defense mechanisms that we may not even realize, and they're all embedded in us subconsciously. But you need to be able to face those parts of you, because your ego tells you everything that you're afraid to tell yourself that is the truth. And when it comes to breaking your ego, this is when you need to be for real with yourself and be like, yeah, I'm the reason why I do these things. I'm the reason why I keep attracting a toxic friend group. I'm the reason why I don't find the good partner. I'm the reason why this is that. I'm not saying blame yourself, but be like, I'm partially the reason, because you are. Do you have the boundaries to attract what you're looking for? Do you have the standards to attract what you're looking for? Are you the standard of what you're trying to look for? Do you have the boundaries of what you're trying to look for? It's like the same thing. It's like when people are saying like, oh, I want a high value man, I want a high value woman. Have you looked at yourself? Are you the high value man and are you the high value woman that you are talking about? Because if you are, you should be able to attract it. But if you're not, that is why you're not attracting the person that you want. You get what I'm saying? Or even just in life in general. Oh, I wish I just had better friend groups who are able to communicate with me, and who are not people pleasers, da-da-da-da. Okay, but do you have good communication? Are you a people pleaser? That is why you keep attracting these type of friend groups. Oh, I just want a friend group who just does not gossip and we always talk about our goals and stuff. Well, are you into gossiping? Do you have any goals to talk about? You guys are saying you want the things, but you're not checking in back in yourself saying, wait a second, am I even qualified to have these things? Because half the time you are not. And if you were qualified to have these things that you want in life, immediately the things that serve you no good, the things that don't serve your highest good, you would walk away from it with no problem, okay? That's what I mean, break your ego. Look into yourself. Be for real with yourself, because half the time you are the problem of your own reality. Let's face it. Stop victimizing yourself. But other than that, I can keep talking on and on and on about this topic, but I hope this video provided you some value and just got you out of your head, because my intention here is just to be for real, be blunt, and give you guys the advice that you need to hear. And this is the same way I talk to myself and the advice that I give myself, because it's the truth. I hope you guys resonate with this video, and I hope this is the advice that you have been looking for, and I hope this is what gets you out to do the things that you've always wanted to do. That was my goal and that was my intention for this video. Do not mean to hurt anyone's feelings. I may have probably said some things that might hurt some people's feelings, but it's the truth. And I want you guys to become the best version of yourself, and I want you guys to realize that being vulnerable with yourself is how you're going to get anything that you want. Other than that, I will see you guys in the next video.